Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Shri Ramachandra Vijyotsava ki Jaya. Please join us for Jaya Radha Madhav prayers. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Hare Kṛṣṇa, dear devotees. Once again, Shri Ramachandra's Vijyotsava ki Jaya. So again, today is an auspicious day of Dashera and we are all celebrating. So this weekend we are celebrating Ram Vijyotsava. And it's a good opportunity to discuss the glories and characteristics of Lord Ramachandra and take some lessons from Ramayana. So please join us today. Welcome to this session. And before we start, like we normally do, we like to share some of the blessings that come from such discussions, the study. And as we start, please join us for Guru Pranati. Together. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Om Jnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve namaha Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim Yat kripa tadaham vande Shri Gurum dinataranam Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Kṛṣṇa. So many times when we chant the holy name, people say, oh, Lord Ram's name is there. So yes, Srila Prabhupada gave many such descriptions, and one of them, he said that yes, there are three names we are chanting. We are directly calling out to the Lordship. So Hare, Kṛṣṇa and Rama. So this, the third letter word, Rama, can refer to Lord Ramachandra, can refer to Lord Balaram, as well as can refer to Lord Kṛṣṇa as Radharaman. Because Srila Prabhupada instructs us and the Acharyas instruct us that actually they are all Vishnu Tattva, so they are non-different. The pastimes are different. Now when it comes to the aspect of pastimes, how are their pastimes different? Right? So let's cover the blessings and we'll be looking at how their pastimes appear different per se. Because Lord Ramachandra, he appears as Maryada Purushottam, right? As a Leela avatar. And Lord Kṛṣṇa, he appears as Leela Purushottam. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appears as Prema Purushottam. And now, Nama Prabhu, he appears as Kripa Purushottam. So we, see Lord Ramachandra's, pastimes as Maryada Purushottam. And what is the significance of hearing the glories of Lord Ramachandra? That is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Purusho Ramacharitam Shavaner Upadharayan Andhra Shamsya Paro Rajan Karma Bandher Vimuchyate. Purusho Ramacharitam. So any person who hears the glories of Lord Ramachandra, his characteristics, his name, form, activities, pastimes. Shamana Upadharayan, just by giving oral reception. So again, twice it has been said, one who hears about Lord Ramachandra's charita, and as well as one who gives oral reception. So you all are giving this oral reception, and reception means you're welcoming Lord Ramachandra and his, wonderful charitra pastimes. So again, characteristics, his pastimes. Upadharayan. Andhra Shamsya Paro Rajan. So when Shukdev Goswami says, he is saying that one is, my dear king, is completely freed of the envy. Andhra Shamsya Paro Rajan. Karma bandher vimuchyate, and one can become free from the fruitive activities, karma bandha. So these are the blessings, two amazing blessings. And we know that in this material world, generally for the, in the mood of survival, people forget to live, and they are, engaged in all kind of fruitive activities. Why? Because they want to enjoy their senses. They want to seek sense gratification. While devotees, they don't consider the work or sense enjoyment as the end. Rather, it is just a means when engaged in devotional service. So everything, even when we go to work, we do it to please Lord Kṛṣṇa. And Lord Kṛṣṇa gave this instruction to Arjuna. Was Arjuna a sannyasi? No. Was he a brahmachari? No. He was a grahastha. Was he a, Brahman? No. He was a kshatriya. Yet at the same time, Lord Kṛṣṇa instructs him, remembering me, Arjuna, you get up and fight. Mamusmaran yudhyacha. So that's why the mood comes in that Lord Kṛṣṇa is giving us instructions to follow his words, right? So instructions are meant to be followed. And when we see Lord Ramachandra's life, right, then Ramcharitram, we see that Lord Ramachandra is showing us how to live. And when we read Bhagavad Gita, it tells us how to die, right? So those two combinations are essential. So how to live feeds into how to die, but at the same time Maryada comes in. And Srila Prabhupada, he describes Maryada in a very succinct yet important manner. So once instructing His Grace Shyamsundar Prabhu, he revealed that, and I am paraphrasing, that Maryada means when we are interacting with our elders, our superiors, our spiritual masters, when we are interacting with the deities at the temple, then we should, serve them with awe and reverence. And Srila Prabhupada said that deity worship, even though we are worshipping Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ji, Shri Shri Radha Kṛṣṇa, Shri Shri Radha Damodar Ji, we should always worship as if we are worshipping Lakshmi Narayan in the mood of awe and reverence. So with that mood, in awe and reverence, we should be serving them. And there should be always some distance. So this distance is important when we serve our spiritual masters, when we serve the deities, and we serve the senior Vaishnavas. Why is this important? And he referred to a common slang in English, where in the Western world, familiarity breeds contempt. So because of the familiarity, sometimes we commit offenses. And these offenses cause us to fall down on our path. It's like we are driving a car in acceleration, a really nice speed, and all of a sudden, poof, we have applied brakes. Right? And we don't want to be in that state. We want to continue our journey with that nice speed, serving the Lordship. Thank you. So, and when we hear about Lord Ramachandra's Charitra, in Valmiki Ramayana, there are only 7 verses. That's in the Balkand, means that where sage Valmiki, as he starts Ramayana, he's describing Lord Ram's Charitra. So again, it is very much like before the act, the play starts, there is a glorification, or before a king arrives, there is a glorification. So in that mood, sage Valmiki, he is describing Lord Ram's Charitra. So please hear to this very attentively, and then we'll be looking at individual aspects of various qualities that Lord Ramachandra shows. He displays in Ramayana. Now, as we understand, sage Valmiki, under the instruction of his spiritual master Devashi Narad, had already written Ramayana. And then Lord Kṛṣṇa took as, the form as Lord Ramachandra as an actor, and he's playing out. So his stage is this whole universe, and he's carrying out this nice, act as Lord Ramachandra, and Mother Radha, she is carrying out the act of Sita Mata, goddess of fortune. So let's look at the way he is describing the various qualities of Lord Ramachandra. Konvasmin sampratam loke guruvan kasya viryavan dharmagyascha kritriyagascha satyavakyo dhridavrataha. So he is describing Kanau, who asmin in this sampratam, present, loke, world, guruvan, with noble character, with great characteristics, with great qualities, kaha, who is, cha, and viryavan, valiant, strong, dharmagyascha, virtuous too, kritagyacha, faithful to his own vow. So he, and satyavakya. Kritagya also means thankful, right? So we also covered that. Yes. Satyavakya is true to his words, and dhridavrataha, and determined in his deeds. So who in this world at present is that great person with noble character, valiant, virtuous, thankful, and also true to his words, and determined in his deeds? So these are the 6 characteristics as how Lord Ramachandra's introduction is being given by sage Valmiki in the beginning of Ramayana. Now let's look at one of the first ones. So the first quality he is describing is of noble character. So Lord Ramachandra, he shows this noble character when he is carrying out the order of his elders, right? So when at the Swayamvara of Mother Sita, so her Swayamvara has been arranged by Janak Maharaj, and she is only just 5 years old at this time. Lord Ramachandra is just 7 years old, and at that time in this Swayamvara we can discuss why at such an early age Janak Maharaj was trying to arrange the Swayamvara. There is a beautiful pastime about that as well. Vishwamitra, the spiritual master of Lord Ramachandra, he says to Lord Ramachandra, Vatsaram Dhanur Pashyati, my dear Ram, please go and see the bow. So here, based on this instruction, Lord Ramachandra, he shows the character of a first class disciple. So there are 3 classes of disciples. First class disciple is who takes the instruction, understands the purpose behind that instruction, understands the purport of that instruction, and then carries it out. And again, when carrying it out, make sure that all aspects are covered. So so that not every step needs to be described. So he goes and he looks at the bow, that's Pashyati. But then he, understanding the purport, he picks up the bow, takes the pratyanja and puts it on that bow. And he, pulls the string with that twang sound, right? But when he pulls the string, because of his strength, what happens? The bow breaks and everyone is shocked. Actually, the bow breaks in Valmiki Ramayana when he's putting pratyanja. And there are a couple of other Ramayana versions where he's pulling the pratyanja where it breaks. So, nevertheless, the bow is breaking into 2 pieces and such a tumultuous sound comes in. Everyone is shocked as if there is a annihilation of this world is happening. And right at that moment, hearing that Lord Shiva's bow has been broken into 2 pieces, who appears? Parshuram. But before that, let's look at the characteristic of Lord Ramachandra. He is showing as a first class disciple, not just to take the instruction, but also to understand the meaning behind. His teacher, Lord Sage Vishwamitra, is asking him to go out and check out that bow. To check it out, is it really that strong bow that can be used for fighting, or is it just for a show? And look at its weight, look at its structure, test it out to see how useful it is. So with that mood, Lord Ramachandra had approached. Now a second class disciple, what would he do? He said, oh, My Guru Maharaj has asked me to see, so he goes, he sees, and he comes back and sits down. That's what a second class disciple. What is the characteristic of a third class disciple? Third class disciple is Guru has given instruction. So most of the time, before responding to that instruction, he will say, no, this instruction is not for me. It's for him or her and everyone else, but not for me. Or sometimes when people address, actually it has been spoken to you. Or when, the spiritual master speaks to the disciple directly, then they say, why should I do it? I'm doing so many wonderful activities. I don't have time for all these, new things. Maybe I should delegate it to someone. So they delegate it to the next person. And if this, and that next person, if happens to be the third class disciple, not a second class or first class, would continue to delegate it on till the message is lost in translation. And if the spiritual master says, no, I want you to test it out, then they sometimes say, why should I test it out? You should test it out. You want to know what it is like. Why don't you go and see it? So that's the characteristic of a third class disciple. So we definitely don't want to be in the position of a third class disciple. We don't even want to be in the position of second class disciple. Yet at the same time, we want to be taking lessons from the life of Lord Ramachandra. So Lord Ramachandra as Maryada Purushottam, he teaches us how to live the life. He is setting example for us. So what are the principles we should follow? How we should follow? When we should follow is very important. Sometimes time is of essence. You should immediately take to it at that very moment when it has been given. So noble character has been identified. He is valiant. So when he went for Vanvas, the 14 years, and he was staying at Chitrakoot, and we all know Shurpanakha, she saw Lord Ramachandra. She was attracted by his beauty. And when she approached him, he said that I'm already married. Rather, my brother Lakshman, he is alone in this forest. Right? And so, you should approach him. And then when she approached Lakshman, Lakshman said, but you don't want to be settled with the second class, right? He is the best among men. So you want to go for the first class. So knowing that, okay, Lord Ramachandra is already married, Shurpanakha attacked Mother Sita, and Lakshman intervened and cut off her nose and ears for her, heinous act on trying to kill Mother Sita. And she ran away. And then she went to her cousins, and 14,000 Rakshasas, they came. So prior to that, Mother Sita has sometimes questioned Lord Ramachandra that you're carrying this bow and quiver of arrows. Are you really going to ever use them? So Lord Ramachandra, he stayed quiet. He never responded back. That's also telling us character that sometimes when our wives, they say, you're doing all this study, are you going to use it for, how is it going to change your life? How is it going to change your relationships with everyone around you? So we should be, as husbands, should be carrying out that instruction. And similarly, husbands are similarly to their wives. So again, they should see the reflection in the dealings with others. So we should always be improving our relationship with others. We should always be becoming more humble. We should always be becoming more tolerant. And just like Lord Ramachandra, he, in a very humble mode, he would just smile. And on this incident, when he sees 14,000 Rakshasas approaching the ashram, he says to Lakshman, take Sita and inside the hut. And Lakshman says, no, my dear Lord, you take Mother Sita, I will fight with this, Rakshasas. Lord Ramachandra says, Lakshman, you take her inside the hut. It's like, why are you bothering yourself? This is nothing. I'll take care of them in no time. You take care. Then Lord Ramachandra says, this is family business. You don't meddle in the, you don't interfere in the family business. You take her inside the hut, close the door, and I'll take. Now, as Lord Ramachandra, has given this third time instruction to Lakshman, he takes it to heart. So again, Lakshman, very energized, very dedicated young brother. So again, we take lessons from Lakshman, how to be a young brother, how to serve the elder brothers, how to serve the elders all around us. and he takes Mother Sita inside the hut while Mother Sita is watching. And without breaking a sweat, Lord Ramachandra kills all those 14,000 Rakshasas. All the demons are killed. And Mother Sita, she rushes out with a garland in her hand, and she garlands Lord Ramachandra, and she says that I am so amazed and I'm so blessed to see your valiant nature. And I'm so thankful that if my father had seen you in this form, he may have married all my sisters to you. So that is valiant nature of Lord Ramachandra. There is another in various versions of Ramayana, especially in Garuda Ramayana, there's this description given that when Ravan came in front of Lord Ramachandra, and he would try to put his pratyanja is the thread, on his bow, as he would put it, before even he gets to pick it up to put the arrow on it, Lord Ramachandra with his arrow was so accurate that he would break off that pratyanja, and he would again put another one. And then finally, Lord Ramachandra killed him. So, and of course, Vibhishan provided the instruction. Yet at the same time, Lord allows his devotees to partake in his leelas. So that's why Vibhishan is also very important. He is a younger brother of the opposing party, enemy party. Yet at the same time, he is a devotee of Lord Ramachandra. So this is where we covered the second characteristic as valiant, virtuous. So virtuous, Lord Ramachandra had taken the vow to be one, to have just one wife, ek patni vrata. So at Dandakaranya was the forest where his ashram was. And many sages, when they saw Lord Ramachandra, they offered themselves, to Lord Ramachandra. And Lord Ramachandra said that you will have to appear in different pastimes later on. So here, they were born, so these sages from Dandakaranya, they later appeared in Kṛṣṇa Leela. So Lord Kṛṣṇa is Leela Avatar. And there, they appeared, many of them appeared as gopis, many of them appeared as manjaris, and they served Lord Kṛṣṇa and attained perfection. So he is virtuous. And also in the case of Shurpanakha, he was virtuous. Now sometimes people want to know what happened to Shurpanakha. Shurpanakha, she, after seeing all her cousins destroyed, she ran to her elder brother, Ravan, and she said, my dear Ravan, there is this, a Kshatriya warrior, he used to be a prince, and he had destroyed all of our cousins, when I requested them to defend my honor. And now she starts describing Lord Ramachandra's beauty. But at the same time, when she says that, he has a beautiful wife, Sita, who I wanted to kill, Rama's mentality immediately got attracted to Mother Sita, right? That she is describing the beauty of Mother Sita. Why she is actually describing the beauty of Lord Ramachandra. And Lord Ramachandra's beauty surpasses all beauties because none other than Kṛṣṇa. So here, when he hears he has lusty desires, she, after telling that to Ravan, and Ravan is saying, yes, I will protect your honor, he goes and he approaches Marichi and all that incident happens. Shurpanakha takes to meditation. So she meditates, she worships. And in meditation, she is seeking to attain Lord Ramachandra as her husband, right? And because of that benediction, in her next birth, she is born as Kubja, Trivikra. So we know her in Mathura Leela. So she appears there. So this is the glories that Lord is so merciful that he gives whoever wants what they desire based on time, place and circumstances. So here that aspect is given, that he is virtuous and he carries out his aspects, his activities. Lord Ramachandra shows us how he is kritagya, how he is thankful. And Lord Ramachandra when was searching for Mother Sita after Ravan had kidnapped Mother Sita. He had abducted Mother Sita. Lord Ramachandra first finds Jatayu, and he hears from Jatayu as how Jatayu fought with Ravan and he finally died. And Lord Ramachandra performs the last rites of Jatayu as if he's performing for his own father. So he's giving that honor to Jatayu, who fought for Mother Sita, to protect Mother Sita. And he fought and lost his life when fighting with Ravan. So that is also, he is thankful. And then, as he continues to proceed forward, Sugriv, seeing that there are two young, valiant Kshatriyas near the hill, he sends Hanuman. And Hanuman, he approaches Lord Ram and Lord Lakshman in a disguise to inquire, and he realizes that this is none other than his Lord Ramachandra. And he brings Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman to Sugriv. And at that time, hearing the incident that Ravan, Mother Sita has been abducted, Sugriv, he brings forth her jewels. He says that yes, we saw a Viman, a plane flying by, and the lady crying, and she was dropping these jewels, and so some of them fell on this land in our area, and I was able to get them. And he shows, and Lord Ramachandra, he is immediately, the moment he recognizes, it is said that the tears appear in his eyes. And at the same time, he is very thankful to Sugriv. So he immediately creates an alliance and agrees to give justice to Sugriv by killing Vali. And so he is true to his words. He gives his words to Sugriv and he carries them out. He also takes the word of his father, Dashrath. Dashrath with heavy heart, right, on the Friday, it was that Ram was going to be coronated as the king of Ayodhya before he was sent out. And Kekai and Bharat and Shatrugna, they were visiting their grandfather at that time, is Kekai's grandfather. And Shatrugna and Lakshman are the sons of Sumitra. So Shatrugna was always with Bharat, Lakshman was with Lord Ramachandra. And Kekai was, there is some background politics that was happening. So Mantra, we know that she was the maidservant of Kekai. And Mantra thought about this. And she also was, old, as well as she thought that if Kekai can become, right, if Bharat becomes the king, then Kekai would be in a prominent position and I would be a prominent elderly maidservant, so my position would be very strong. And so she poisoned the mind of Kekai by saying that if Ram becomes the king, his mother, right, Kaushalya, she will become the Rajmata. Rajmata is the king's mother. And so your position will diminish and you will not be regarded as such. And so Bharat will also be neglected. It is your duty to make sure that your son gets that position. So you should ask Dashrath to make Bharat as the king of Ayodhya. And because everybody loves Ram in Ayodhya, it is not possible for Bharat to be coronated with Ram being there. So you should ask Dashrath to send away Ram on a vanvas, so there would be no impediments. Kekai in the previous times had once accompanied as a Sarthi of Dashrath. So on that particular battle, Dashrath was heavily injured, and at that time Kekai protected him. And so Dashrath said that I owe you, right? Sometimes we feel like somebody has done a great favor to us, so we owe them. And he said that I will allow you two boons, so you can ask whatever you feel like. So now Kekai is reminded of that. So she sends her, maidservants that calling for Dashrath. And when Dashrath comes, he doesn't find Kekai in her room. So one of the maidservants reveals to him that she is in Kop Bhavan. So this is Thursday evening, a day before coronation of Lord Ramachandra. And the maidservant of Kekai is telling Dashrath Maharaj that Kekai is in Kop Bhavan. So Dashrath Maharaj is bewildered. He's like, oh, Kop Bhavan. So this is also an interesting aspect sometimes. In our house, we should always have one room, right? With no windows, no breakable objects, everything made of stone all around. So that if wife gets upset, she can go into that room and ask us to satisfy, pacify them. So this is where Dashrath Maharaj, he goes to this Kop Bhavan, anger room. Or, person who is angry goes to this room. It's like a timeout, right? So here, Dashrath Maharaj, he goes to the Kop Bhavan and he sees that Kekai is, in a very bereaved condition, crying, and angry, and she is like, lamenting as if for something. So he says, what's wrong? And she reminds him, remember you gave me 2 boons? So I asked for these boons. And what are these 2 boons? She says, first, I want my son Bharat to be coronated. And Dashrath says, well, Bharat is not different from Ram. So, I don't see any problem in that. But Ram is the true king, right? Means everybody loves Ram. Why would he want Bharat? Rather, Ram regards you even higher than his own mother. He loves you more. Yet at the same time, she says, no, this is my firstborn. So Dashrath Maharaj says, okay, it's mother's heart. Maybe, she wants it. Little disappointed, yet at the same time he said, yes, I gave her a bone. So, Raghupati Rit Sadachari Hai Prana Jaya Par Vachan Na Jaya. So I should carry out my words. So truthful to his words, he says, okay, granted. And then she says, now the second one. He says, okay, what is it? And then she says that you send Ram for Vanvas to the forest for 14 years. Now this is heavy on the heart of Dashrath Maharaj. He cannot, have this separation. He loves to see Lord Ramachandra on a daily basis. And hearing that he would not be able to see Lord Ramachandra, he gets almost a heart attack. Right? And so, but at the same time, he has given her the boon, and she has asked for this boon that Lord Ramachandra be, sent, annihilated, sent to forest for 14 years. And so be it. So Lord Ramachandra is called. And he could see that his father is in a sick state, he's in a bad condition. And Mother Kekai is right beside him. And at that time, Kekai asks Dashrath to give the instruction to Lord Ramachandra. And Dashrath with heavy heart is revealing that, my dear Ram, I want you to take to Vanvas for 14 years. Lord Ramachandra, his mood does not change. He is showing us that how he is so surrendered to his father's instructions that without any, even any sign of not liking or whatever, he takes it as the instruction and he carries it out. When Lakshman hears it, that Bharat is going to be coronated and Lord Ramachandra is being sent to forest, he is of course upset, right? And he is saying, oh, this must be Bharat's doing. So he is already having this mindset. He jumps to conclusion pretty fast based on the Ramayana being written. Well, Bharat, we know as Lord Balaram, is also very surrendered to Lord Kṛṣṇa, so Lord Ramachandra here. And so when he goes and tells his mother, Sumitra, that Lord Ramachandra is going to the forest. So at that time, Sumitra says, if he is going, he is your prananath, right? He is your life and soul. How could you be away from him? So hearing this, immediately Lakshman also takes simple clothes of a brahmachari, and he is, simple clothes, not brahmachari. He is also married actually. And he goes to his wife Urmila. He says, I have to go and protect Lord Ram, serve Lord Ram in the forest. So Urmila, you should be sleeping on my behalf because I cannot sleep when I am serving Lord Ramachandra. Well, when Lord Ramachandra is awake, I have to serve him. And Lord Ramachandra is Rajiv Lochan. So he wakes up at sunrise and he goes to sleep at sunset. So from sunset to sunrise, I have to be awake, right? And then from when Lord Ramachandra is awake, how could I go to sleep? That would not be appropriate because I have to serve him at every moment. So all that sleep, again, this is a divine arrangement where Urmila, she is going to be separated from her husband, right? And so in a way, it is a very nice arrangement in Ramayana where Urmila sleeps till Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman return on behalf of Lakshman, Gunakesha. So Lakshman has also another name called Gunakesha, just like Arjun, the one who has won over the sleep. And Meghnad had this boon that he can only be killed by a Gunakesha, a person who has not slept for 14 years. And at that time, Lakshman was the only personality who had not slept for 14 years, so he was able to kill Meghnad. So everything comes around with such a nice arrangement. Yet at the same time, it is because of the virtuous nature. It is because of following, the instructions of the elders and stay true to your words. Lord Ramachandra gave his words to Sugriv that yes, you will become king of Kishkindha, I will kill Vali. He carries it out to the world. When Vibhishan comes and takes shelter of Lord Ramachandra, Lord Ramachandra coronates him as Lankesh, the king of Lanka. And at that time, everyone is amazed. They are like, okay, if we, defeat Ravan, Lanka should belong to Lord Ramachandra. But here, even before that, he has already given to Lanka to Vibhishan. And then they have this inquiry. What happens if Ravan comes and takes your shelter? Lord Ramachandra says, if one has taken my shelter, I will provide him my protection. All we have to do is, meditate on Lord Ram's name, fame, his glories, his name, form, activities, pastime, and say, oh my dear Lord, I surrender to you and I, seek to follow your instructions and carry out the instructions. So that is true surrender. And they are saying, what if Ravan comes and he surrenders to you? Lord Ramachandra says, well, if Ravan comes, then I'll give him Ayodhya. But everyone says, but Bharat, he is managing Ayodhya for you. What you will give Bharat if he surrenders? So Acharya has revealed that Lord Ramachandra is saying, if Ravan is given Ayodhya, I will give Vaikuntha to Bharat. So such amazing, everyone is surprised, but you are the Vaikuntapati, means you are Vaikuntapati, you are, so where will you go? And at that time, Lord Ramachandra says, I will gladly rule the heart of Hanuman, right? So Lord, Hanuman, when he later on splits his chest, we can see in his heart there is Lord Ramachandra, Sitaram, they are there. So everyone is fully, shaken. They show these loving symptoms when they hear this beautiful response of Lord Ramachandra. And of them, who is the most joyous personality? Is it Ravan who is most joyous, or is it Vibhishan? Or if Bharat comes to know, would he be most joyous? No. There is one personality, Kim Purusha. Hanuman, Bajrangbali, he is joyous. He is excited hearing that Lord Ramachandra wants to rule my heart. So that is the kind of desire we should have. We should have desire that, Lord, please come, reside in my heart, rule my heart, and let me serve you at every moment. Now when it comes to serving, there are some amazing aspects. So there are 4 stages of devotions, right? And they are in ascending order. So, it's going to be greater and greater and greater. So, unlike the 3 levels where you started from the top, first class, second class, third class, now we are starting from the 4th. So, the first is servant of the master. Servant of the master has been very nicely carried out in Ramayana by Hanumanji. So Bajrang Bali, he is carrying out. Yet at the same time, his service increases to the next level, where he comes to the position of slave of the master. And slave of the master is where, whatever master says, that goes. No questions asked. Servant of the master serves the master based on master's instructions. But slave of the master just carries it out fully, with complete surrender. And that is the level we all want to be at. Right? And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he describes the 6 limbs of surrender. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishati iti vishwaso gopatitva varnam tatha atma nikshepa karpane shadvidha sharnagati. So what are the 6 limbs of surrender? Anukulyasya sankalpa. Accepting everything that is favorable for devotional service. So for our devotional service, if there is something auspicious, we should accept it. Pratikulyasya varjanam. And anything that is unfavorable should be rejected. Rakshishati iti vishwaso. Having strong faith, vishwas, that Lord will provide protection, raksha. Gopatitve varnam tatha. And accepting Lord as our only guardian to take shelter of Lord's lotus feet. Atma nikshepa. Surrendering everything in the service of the Supreme Lord, Lord Shri Krishna. Karpane. And staying in a humble mood. So always staying in a humble mood allows us to follow all these instructions. These are the 6 limbs of surrender. So Bajrang Bali, he shows it. Now sometimes people are saying, oh yes, he's so powerful, he's so big, Lord Ramachandra needed him. And then he also appears in Kṛṣṇa Leela. So when Lord Ramachandra blessed Hanumanji to be Chiranjeevi, right, to be immortal, Lord Hanuman, he goes to the north and is meditating on Lord Ramachandra's name, form, activities, pastimes. Just like we continue to chant, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Similarly, Lord Hanuman he is meditating on Lord's name, form, activities, pastimes. And once in Dwarka, when Devashi Narad, he goes to meet Lord Kṛṣṇa, and Lord Kṛṣṇa worships Devashi Narad, as a Brahman sannyasi, and then he says, it would be nice to see Hanuman. And Devashi Narad says, sure, my dear Lord, I will get Hanuman. And then he goes to where Lord Hanuman is meditating. And now Devashi Narad is singing glories of Lord Kṛṣṇa. And he's saying, he is yours, supreme master. Lord Hanuman is not flinching at all. He is completely in his meditation. Devashi Narad understands, oh, Hanumanji is Rama Bhakta. Right? Just like Murari Das Gupta. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Murari Das Gupta to chant the holy name of Lord Kṛṣṇa, he could never do so. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, oh, you are an incarnation of Hanuman. You are surrendered to Lord Ramachandra. Similarly, Devashi Narad, he understood, yes, Hanumanji, he is a devotee of Lord Ramachandra. So at a distance he stood and started singing glories of Lord Ramachandra. Now as soon as he started singing glories of Lord Ramachandra, he got attention of Hanuman. Hanuman, started, oh, someone is singing glories of Lord Ramachandra. So even though his eyes are closed, he is following the sound. And so Devashi Narad is walking towards Dwarka, and who's following him? Hanumanji. And is Devashi Narad singing glories of? Whose glories is he singing? Lord Ramachandra's glories. So Hanumanji is attracted by the glories of Lord Ramachandra being sung, and he follows, Devashi Narad. And then Devashi Narad signals the gatekeeper that go and, tell Lord Kṛṣṇa that Hanumanji is coming. So the gatekeeper immediately runs to Lord Kṛṣṇa, and Lord Kṛṣṇa immediately takes on that Vanvasi clothes as Lord Ramachandra was wearing. And he asks Satyabhama to please change. And Satyabhama, as we know, because of the influence of her father Satyajit, who had Samantika jewel, which would give like 170 pounds of gold every day, she was always bedecked with a lot of gold jewelry and ornaments and so forth. And he asked her, please get into some simple clothes, so that Hanuman is coming, so he will be able to see. And at that time she did not. She was like, no, I'm looking good like this. You should accept me like this. Hanumanji comes and he sees Lord Krishna in Lord Ram form. He's saying, oh yes, this is my Lord Ramachandra. He starts singing glories. He sings glories, pays obeisance, and then he comes close to Krishna. And he says, my dear Lord, you are here. Where is Mother Sita? And who's that lady right beside you? Because he always accepted Mother Sita to be following Lord Ramachandra. So this is one place. Now he is a valiant warrior. And we already heard that, with Arjun he had this encounter. With Bhim he had this encounter. Bhim is his half brother. So he is, from God brother perspective. And when Lord Krishna asks the service of Hanuman, what is the characteristic of Hanuman? He is very powerful. He is a great warrior. And he is a great, servant of Lord Ramachandra. So he understood that Krishna is not different from Ram. Actually, Krishna he played out the role of Lord Ramachandra. So he is carrying out the instruction. And what does Lord Krishna ask him to do? He says, Arjun, I want you to be on the pataka, on the flag of Arjun, Hanuman. I want you to be on the flag of Arjun, and with your weight, because you're very proud of your heavy weight, you keep it balanced, steady. And Hanuman, he simply follows. So that is where he's at that level of even higher than the servant, as a slave of the Lord. Yes. Yes, of the Arjun's chariot. So on the chariot, Hanumanji is there. And now when Arjun is fighting with Kṛṣṇa, every time Arjun shoots the arrow and it hits Kṛṣṇa's chariot, the chariot is thrown outside the Kurukshetra battlefield. And he comes back in to fight with Arjun. While when Kṛṣṇa's arrow hits the chariot shakes. And suddenly Lord Krishna starts glorifying Kṛṣṇa. And Arjun is like, what is going on? I throw him outside the battlefield and he comes in, and you are glorifying him when he is able to just shake my chariot? He could not understand that. At that time, Lord Krishna reveals to Arjun that you are maybe throwing him out, but he is coming, and when he is shaking a chariot, first of all you have to understand that on a chariot and on the flag is Hanuman, who is very proud of his heavy weight, and he is making you steady, this chariot steady, given to us by Agni. This chariot of yours that Agni Dev gave to you, which is capable of winning in all 10 directions. He is able to shake it. So he is already challenging Hanumanji. And on top of that, I am sitting, Lord of the universe. And this chariot is able to shake with the hit of the arrow shot by Kṛṣṇa. Now that's why I am singing his glories. So now Arjun understood how powerful and how valiant Kṛṣṇa is, and that's because of Sun God, that characteristic that he is, partial incarnation of Sun God, and also the next incarnation of Dambodhbhava Rakshas. So there are two personalities in Kṛṣṇa. So all the good qualities is because of the partial incarnation, expansion of Sun God, and all the demonic qualities that we see in Kṛṣṇa is because of that Dambodhbhava Rakshas. And we have covered this particular pastime as, how Kṛṣṇa being in such a state and how he was killed in the story where we talked about the birth of Nar-Narayan Rishi earlier. So here we are hearing about the second, the even higher slave of master and puppet in the hand of master. So one who is a puppet in the hand of master, ready to carry out the instructions as Lord desires. Uddhav is in that position. He is simply serving Lord Shri Krishna. He is a disciple of Brihaspati, yet he is acting as a devotee of Lord Shri Krishna. He is close associate. And Srila Prabhupada on Jaladuta, in his Jaladuta directive, when he arrived at Boston, he also wrote a poem with that mode, to be a puppet in the hand of Lord Shri Krishna. So, my dear Lord, that I am your puppet, make me dance as you like. So I'm paraphrasing, but And then the fourth level comes in. So again, what could be higher than servant, slave and puppet? The higher level of a of devotion is, the fourth stage is where the puppet becomes the master and the master becomes the slave. So again, master becomes the puppet. So these have been exemplified in the case of Arjun. So Lord Krishna is the Supreme Master. Arjun is his devotee. Yet the Supreme Master has accepted to take the position of the puppet, to take orders from the devotee, and devotee is in the position of a master. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was on his pilgrimage to the south, he sees this Brahman who was reciting Bhagavad Gita, and he was not very learned, so his pronunciation was not very accurate. So he would make all kind of mistakes. So other Brahmanas in that area were laughing at him. And this Brahmana, his tears were flowing incessantly. And he was not reading it nicely, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he asks him, how is it that you are crying and and why are you reading? Means, what is the purpose? Please share with me. So this Brahmana says, my dear Lord, my spiritual master gave me the instruction to read Bhagavad Gita daily. So that's why I'm following the instructions of my spiritual master. Yet at the same time, when I see the scene that Lord Krishna is taking instructions, orders from Arjun, he's putting himself in that position to serve his devotee. My tears cannot stop. The ecstasy in my body means that all the ecstatic symptoms, they appear, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could see. And at that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraces this Brahman. So here, this is the benediction, because he was at that prema state, at that a very strong bhav culminating into prema. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he embraces him and says that yes, you have understood the purport, you have understood the true meaning of love of Godhead, as how this loving relationship is maintained. So that is the benediction that we all want to see God. Yet at the same time, Srila Prabhupada instructs us that we should serve God with such a mood, with such an attitude that God would want to see us, Krishna would want to see us. That should be the attitude. Once, while doing initiation ceremony at one of the temples, there was a very small opening, and the devotees, they could not see the deities as Srila Prabhupada was doing Abhishek and so forth. And Srila Prabhupada said, what is wrong? So they said, Srila Prabhupada, we can't see the deities. Srila Prabhupada instructed that you should serve so much that Krishna would want to see you. So that should be our attitude. We should look from that perspective. And that is also being exemplified by a very simple story. Srila Prabhupada shared this story, he narrated, that there used to be a Prime Minister of England named Gladstone. So once there was a delegate who had come to meet the Prime Minister. And the secretary said, why don't you just wait, he's busy. So he waited for over an hour, became impatient, he opened the door. What does he see? He sees that the Gladstone is on the floor, on his knees and his hands, right? And a small boy is riding Gladstone as if Gladstone is the horse and the boy is the horse rider. So at that time he was shocked, because that small boy, what is his position? But this is very interesting. Does that change Gladstone's position? No. The boy happens to be his grandson. And this is a loving exchange where the grandfather wants to become a horse for his grandson and allows his grandson to ride him. So that sweet loving exchange is being reciprocated. And we know from Purnima, Kartik Maas is starting. And we, during the Kartik Maas, every day recite Damodarashtakam. Damodarashtakam, the 8 verses, where we hear as how Lord Krishna is bound by the love of Yashoda Mai. Right? Dam, Udar. So Dam means rope and Udar is stomach. So she is binding him, she is tying him. And Queen Kunti in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is glorifying that I don't understand. How could that gopi bind you and you appear fearful from her? You are running away fearfully, you are being bound, and you are in fear. While fear personified is afraid of you. So when Lord Krishna in Damodar Leela is running away from Mother Yashoda, he is really running away in fear. So he is taking the position of the puppet and the devotee is taking the position of a master. So that's why Srila Prabhupada said that Mayavadis, they are first of all offenders, and then second is, they want to become same as God by merging into Brahman. While, why become same when you can become higher, greater than God? So by taking to devotional service, you can rise to that higher platform. And there are so many pastimes. We can just go on and on, as how Radharani makes Krishna surrender to her, and he is serving her to please her. And gopis, they are laughing and sometimes even rebuking Krishna. So he is even taking that position to be rebuked by his own devotees. So again, very strong words, but Lord, he is amazing that he takes that, the shelter of his devotees at times. And so he is allowing them to take a superior position. He doesn't take shelter, means he is allowing them to take a superior position. That's what is meant. Otherwise, the devotee is always taking shelter at his lotus feet. That is all very well clear. And from Ramayana, there are three aspects that His Grace Gauranga Prabhu, he covers. It's like in Ayodhya, we see Sanskriti, right? That how religious principles are being very nicely carried out. Dharma, Arth, Kam, Moksha, four principles, 4 aspects. Purusharth, they have been carried out. Dharma is religious principle, Arth is economic development, Kam is entertainment or engagement for sense gratification sometimes, and then Moksha is liberation. So those 4 aspects. While at the same time in Kishkinda, it is Prakriti, so natural ways. So monkeys naturally what they do, that's what is going on. And even Lakshman becomes upset by the behavior of Sugriv when he sees that because of the Chaturmasya, Sugriv seems to have forgotten his promise to Lord Ramachandra. So he is corrected at that time, reminded of his duties, and Sugriv, he follows the instruction. Again a devotee of the Lord. And now in Lanka we see Vikriti. Vikriti means just opposite of Sanskriti. What is wrong is considered right, what is right is considered wrong. And this is where when Vibhishan, after Lord Ramachandra kills Ravan, Lord Ramachandra, once again there, Vibhishan goes to his brother Raman and he is weeping. He is saying, my dear brother, you had such great qualities. And as we understand, Ravan was lust personified. And he said that just because of this lusty desire, see all this Soniki Lanka, the golden city of Lanka is annihilated, is destroyed. You are at the verge of your death. You are being killed and all your glories are destroyed because of the acts you have performed. And you were such a valiant, powerful king. You were so virtuous, yet at the same time all your virtues are gone because of that single act. And I was warning you, I was your best well-wisher. So we have to also understand that sometimes people may say things that we may not like, but we should not judge them based on what they are saying. We should understand, are they being our well-wisher or not? They may be saying something harsh that for us to hear, but it may be the truth we need to hear. Yet at the same time, just because you need to tell the truth, it should be presented in a palatable manner. Like Vibhishan, he was pleading to his brother that please don't return Sita to Ram. Please don't continue to carry out this heinous act of trying to, marry her, trying to force her to marry you. So today is Ram Vijyotsava, Dashmi, Dashera, as we call it simply. And it's a very auspicious day where we should look at, actually let me see if we covered all the, so true to his words and is determined in his deeds. So when Lord Ramachandra says that I will protect my devotee, and since Mother Sita is devoted to him, he protects her. And now there is also a question sometimes raised that if he constantly protects her, then why does he give her up after coming to Ayodhya? Hearing the words of a Shudra, of a washerman, he gives her up. So in the Puranas, there is a story that comes in that Mother Sita, when she was a young girl, at that time she had kept 2 birds against their desire, and these birds were actually caught by her friends on her instructions, on her order, because she heard them singing glories of Lord Ramachandra and Sita, as how Lord Ramachandra would marry Sita and how valiant he is. So she was attracted to hear the glories of Lord Ramachandra and know about what is the upcoming attractions, basically. And at that time the bird said that, please let us go now that we have narrated the whole incident. She said, no. She asked the male bird to go, that you can go, but I'll keep her. The male bird said, no, she's pregnant and she cannot be without me. We belong to the forest. You should let us go. But she kept the female to hear more. And the male bird, as was living, because of the separation, his wife, the female bird, the sparrow, left her body, who was pregnant. So he said that you made us separate in this state when my wife was pregnant. You will also be separated from your husband when you will be expecting a child. And at that time, your husband will leave you. He will send you away. And I will be the cause. And saying this, again the male sparrow goes and commits suicide by falling in the river. And is born as this washerman. And so this washerman, he comes and he tells his wife, who could not come, the day she was supposed to, she comes the next day. He says that I'm not handpicked like Lord Ramachandra, who would accept a wife who had stayed in someone's house overnight. Because she, at Ketchup's place, a different boatsman place, she stayed overnight because it was too dark to travel back and cross the river. So when Lord Ramachandra hears it and to carry out, and as is given in Ramayana, which was previously written, he's carrying out his role very nicely, and everything is very nicely arranged as per Ramayana. So this is where we would like to end. So Lord Ramachandra carries out his deed perfectly, and so from his character we see how to be virtuous. And today is a day that we should look at our heart and look at these anarthas we may be holding on, right? Lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, madness, illusion, and these are further expanding into the falsehood and then the judgmental aspects, being judgmental towards others or finding faults in others. So we should give up all these bad qualities. These are like Ravanas in our hearts. They keep emerging. And the way to simply annihilate them is raising our hands and chanting, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So in this Kali age, Lord appears in his holy name, right? And Shukdev Goswami, he glorifies this aspect. Kalera dosha nidhe rajan asti hai eko mahan guna. Kirtana deva Krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajed. So this Kali age is dosha nidhe. It's an ocean of faults. Asti hai eka mahan guna. However, it has one great quality. And what is that quality? Kirtana deva Krishna. Just by singing the glories of Lord Shri Krishna. Mukta sangha, one can become free from this material attachment, free from the fruitive activities, free from all the anarthas. Param vrajit, and can go back to the supreme abode, can attain the supreme goal of life, which is love of Godhead. Go back home, back to Godhead. So that is the blessings we get in this Kali age. And of all the ages, this is the age to be in, because we take the simplest process and get the highest benediction. Right? Goloka Premadhana Hari Nam Sankirtana. So please join us for some more Sankirtan. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So, Shri Ram Vijyotsava ki Jai. वैष्णववृंद की जय। हरे कृष्णा। लॉर्ड रामचंद्र की जय। श्री राम विजयोत्सव की जय। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.